Okay, welcome to Verbling. Buckle up, let's go. I'm Teacher Oakley, and we are going to start the Toefl speaking test Blitz here on Verbling. Okay, what we're going to do for the next 4 hours, we're going to talk about the Toefl speaking test. Our first hour, I will be entertaining any and all questions related to Toefl in any way. So please don't be shy to ask me anything that's on your mind relative to Toefl or IELTS. I'm going to introduce the basic format of the test. We're going to talk about how the scoring works, and I will be giving tips and strategies. This will be 4 classes in a row. Boom, 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 boom. So our second class, we will look at questions 1 and 2 and do a lot of practice. 3 and 4 for the third class. 5 and 6 for the last class of the day. Lots of practice in the upcoming 3 hours after this. We're going to start out with an intro. And let me introduce myself. I'm Teacher Oakley. Hi. And hi, Victor. How's it going?
Hi, Oakley. It's going good. Well, thank you. And what about you?
Good. I'm all psyched up and ready to go, Victor. Ready for this massive pile of learning.
Oakley,
Yeah.
actually, Toefl doesn't interest it for me, but
Nope.
I want to improve and practice my English. This class will be useful for me, or not?
Okay, well, this first class is really an introduction and tips and strategies. The following 3 hours, it's going to be a lot of student practice with feedback about scores. We are focusing on Toefl, I won't lie to you. Okay?
Okay.
That's my goal here. Okay, hello, Trang. Welcome.
Hello. Nice to see you again.
Likewise, how are you today?
I'm fine, thank you.
Okay, welcome to the class. Hello, Ruben.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Welcome to the class.
Thank you.
Omar.
Hi. How are you?
Good.
I'm doing great, thank you. Nice to see you again.
Likewise. Always a pleasure. And Michael. Hey, Michael.
Hello, Teacher Oakley.
How are you today?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. Nice to see you. And Anatoly. Must still be the weekend. Hi, Anatoly.
Hello. Hello. Yes, that's weekend.
Okay. Let me see. Let me test the Verbling chat. Test. Ching. Okay. I will be primarily using the Verbling chat board, chat space. If I have anything to write in there, just so you know. Okay, let's get started. We are really focusing on Toefl speaking. Okay, the basics. What is it? It takes approximately, first of all, the Toefl test is a test people would normally take, probably most likely to as a requirement for a university or graduate school in an English-speaking country. It is accepted more and more widely throughout the world. It used to be IELTS was more focused in British countries like Australia or obviously the UK. Now they're both, IELTS and Toefl, are much more widely accepted all over the world in English-speaking countries. Okay, there are 4 parts of the Toefl test, just as in IELTS or TOEIC or several of these tests, which include listening, speaking, reading, and writing, the 4 fundamental language skills. Our focus is on speaking. So, first of all, the Toefl test has gravitated to now primarily it's the Toefl IBT, which is a computerized test. You will be wearing a headphone and have a microphone. You will be recorded. So it's very important that you stick to the times, which I'll discuss in just a second, because you have recorded times. It starts, it ends. So what they're scoring has to be included in that piece of time. So it's very important that you start speaking when you get the prompt to speak, which is very obvious. And understand that you're going to run out of time if you can't finish what you're saying, because once it's over, it's over. The time requirements are extremely strict. What are they, and what are the questions? The entire speaking test takes about 20 minutes. It includes 6 questions, which can be divided into 2 types. There are independent questions, 2, which are questions 1 and 2. Independent questions, you're asked a question, you will see the question in front of you as you take the test, so you can read it. You will also hear a moderator speak the question. Then, as in all of the questions 1 through 6, you will have a preparation time and a speaking time. For questions 1 and 2, independent questions, the preparation time is 30 seconds. Is that right? 30 seconds, I believe. And the speaking time is 45 seconds. Yes, that's correct. Okay, for the next 4 questions, 3, 4, 5, and 6 are called integrated. They're integrated because you have you're not just answering a question, you have to do some reading. In questions 3 and 4, you do reading and listening. In questions 5 and 6, listening and speaking. So the integrated with other skills. In questions 3 and 4, your speaking time is 60 seconds. You have 30 seconds preparation time, 60 seconds speaking time. Questions 3 and 4. The last 2 questions on the test, you will listen, and then you will speak. You have only 20 seconds to prepare, 60 seconds to speak. You can make notes, and you better make notes. In fact, many of you guys are out there and you're in here for the long haul to do some serious practicing in Toefl today. Go grab yourself some water, go get a pencil, go get some paper. You're going to need it. Make yourself comfortable. All right. Okay, so that's basic layout, what the test is in the basic form. Any questions so far? Was that clear? Okay.
Yes.
What question?
No, it's all clear.
Okay, thank you. Quick howdy to Julio. Hey, Julio. How's it going, bro?
Hey, teacher. Doing fine, thank you.
Good.
I'm
Nice
here
to see
for the long run, so let's get it on.
Let's get it on. Okay, Joseph, howdy. Welcome.
Hi, Oakley.
Hey, what's up? And hello to Faisal. Nice to see you again, Faisal.
Yeah, howdy.
Howdy. Nice cowboy welcome there, Faisal. Howdy. Okay. All right, so that's the basic test. Let's discuss a little closer what the questions are. Question 1 is going to be like a favorites question. All right. Now it could be as specific as, you know, what your favorite food, or your favorite kind of music, or your favorite family member. All right. It could possibly be something more like, what was an experience, an experience which was your favorite, like your favorite birthday you've ever had, or maybe your favorite teacher, or talking about your favorite vacation. Okay. Question 1, which of course will involve using description to describe the experience or the person or whatever. Okay, question 2 is a preference question. You're going to be asked to make a choice, this or that. Right? It could be, do you prefer to work in a group or do you prefer to work by yourself, for example. Do you prefer to go straight from university, from high school, or would you prefer to take a year off? Obviously, or it should be obvious, you have to state your opinion and explain why. You have to, in question 1, you have to state what your favorite is and explain why. Clearly, that's the important part. Giving your reasons and/or examples. All right, those are the independent questions. The integrated question. All right, question 3. By the way, you will see this in the speaking test and actually throughout the whole TOEFL. The theme is academia. So all questions and material either relate to topics or themes which relate to actual university studies. Things like you may be reading about anthropology, paleontology, perhaps the arts, dance, or you'll read about Shakespeare, literature, or talking about, listen to lectures about these things. Or other tasks require you to react, speak, or write about university-related life. For example, talking to the librarian or reacting to a new policy on campus. Okay, everything in the test relates somehow to those two things. Question 3, for example, the moderator will say, there is a recent notice about changes on the college campus. Okay, could be anything. Could be they're adding a statue to the campus, they're restricting parking, they're changing the hours of the library, they're eliminating a cafeteria in part of the campus, blah, 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 all these types of things. Okay, you will read the notice. Then you will hear a conversation, usually between a male and a female, which makes it easier to speak about, because you can say the man says, the woman says, like that. Normally, one person has an opinion. Maybe they agree with the new policy, maybe they're against the new policy. Quite consistently, they have 2 reasons why they agree or disagree. This is what you're going to be speaking about, so listen very carefully. Write it down in your notes so that you can get the main points. Okay. Basically, you're just reacting. Not reacting, you're basically reporting what was said in the conversation about the campus policy change. That's it. Question 4. You will read some academic about an academic topic, an academic passage, maybe about a theory or some idea in environmental science or economics or who knows what. And then you will listen to a lecture. The lecturer, usually a professor, for example, will, again, either agree or disagree with the reading material. All right. Again, Usually they bring up at least 2 points. Occasionally there's a third point, but usually if you can take note of the 2 main points, and then you have to explain, again, reported speech, how the lecturer expands on the reading to bolster or support the reading, or why the lecturer disagrees, and what points does he make to disagree with the lecture. That's it. Question 5 and 6, you only listen. Question 5, you'll listen to 2 people talking about something. Somebody has a problem. That's the issue. In question 5, there's a problem. And somebody's going to give advice. Now, in this question, you have to both report the conversation. The advisor will give, again, magic number, 2 possible solutions. You have to report the problem, the 2 solutions, and then give your opinion which solution you would choose and why. Question 5, in my opinion, may be the most difficult. You've got a lot of information to cram in there into 60 seconds. That's a lot of things to do. So you must be very clear and concise and stay very, very focused. Okay, and finally, question 6, you're listening to just a lecture, basically just reporting on it. It's a little more, it'll be a little more difficult material probably than previously. Okay, basically those are what the questions are. That's the style and what you're doing, reporting and opinionating. That's it. Now, wow, I'm just whipping through this stuff. Now, I want to talk to you in this class about how they score the test, so you know kind of what they're looking for. Okay, those are the types of questions. This ends part B of class 1. Any questions about these types of questions? Believe me, we will go through and practice strategy when we actually start practicing.
Okay.
Fundamentally, but just basically, let me, as a warm-up, say, basically you follow the same format or the same sequence how the information is presented to you. Obviously, you're going to make notes in that sequence, and then you're going to relate it back, speak in the same sequence. In other words, you're presented with the reading material first, so a quick sentence or 2 about what the reading passage is. For example, the college has a new parking policy, which they are bringing into effect. 1 sentence about the reading. The man and the woman disagree about the viability of this new policy. The man thinks, okay, his first idea, number 1, first of all, the man thinks. Secondly, he thinks, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so you're following the whole pattern of the question. All right, it's the easiest thing. It's the easiest thing to do, and you need to stay focused and organized. Why do you need to stay focused and organized? Because of the way they score the test. All right, let me now do a little screen share here with you. Oh, the scoring, briefly. All right, each section of TOEFL is worth 30 points. A perfect score is 120. Would be perfect. That's 30 times 4, for those of you who are not math majors. Now, you have 2 things. You have a raw score and what is called a scaled score. So, for example, for speaking, there are 6 questions. Actually, your scores are 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, but then that's raw score, obviously 4 times 6 is 24, is scaled up to 30. Okay, and they have a complicated scaling model, which isn't really that necessary to know. But so your raw score, you're thinking about getting a score of 4, a perfect score. So that's how the scoring rubric, what the scoring rubric is based on. Okay. Now, why is it so important to stay organized? Well, unlike, for example, IELTS, which scores you on fluency and cohesion, vocabulary, grammar, and pronunciation, 4 things. But 3 of those things are very vital to English speaking skill, in my opinion. TOEFL is quite a bit different in the way they score your test. There are only 3 things that make up your score. They are content. All right? TOEFL is much more concerned with your ability to answer the question with a meaningful answer. They want to hear that you're answering the question, that you are giving reasons and or better yet, examples from the written or spoken, the listening material, and able to give as much clear, cohesive content as you can. Delivery. This has to do with your fluency. Yes, this has to do with cohesion. So this is also, these 2 things are also your organization. How organized are you? If you're organized, you can get more content in. If you're organized, your delivery will be cohesive and your speech will be fluent. So really, your focus is on maintaining your organization and very clear and a clear direction in your speech by, for example, using first of all, secondly, in conclusion, by using connectives and transitionals or signal words and signal phrases to show the direction of your monologue, to make it very clear where your organization is, where you are in your speech. It is 2/3 of your score, in fact. Really. Which is, I find slightly crazy. 1/3 of your score is your actual language. This includes your grammatical structures and your vocabulary. Pronunciation would be included in delivery. It has to do with your fluency and pauses and so forth. Okay. So there you go. You can make small grammatical errors. You can misuse vocabulary or phrasal verbs or such things and still get quite a decent score just by staying organized. Okay, let's take a look at these, and I'm going to go from the bottom up. So let's look at what they're calling content. Well, let's start with 0. Well, the only way to get a 0 is basically don't say anything. So it's nearly impossible to get a 0. If you talk like a crazed monkey, you'll get a 1. Okay, 1. Limited content. You don't really say that much. Response lacks substance. Really, really basic response. Importantly, the speaker can't sustain speech. You've got to fill up the time. All right? Good point. Okay, bad. Don't fill up the time, the 45 seconds or the 1 minute. This is very bad. Run out of time, but you are clearly speaking in an organized fashion with a sequential, meaningful, coherent dialogue. You can still get a 4. All right? Keep that in mind. All All right, speaker just repeating the prompt. They're just repeating the question. Okay, this is not good. Okay. Okay, looking at your... Actually, let's look at one all the way across. Delivery, difficulties in pronunciation, stress, intonation. Means intense listener effort is required. Actually, all these speaking tests really... what it really boils down to for the people scoring your test, how easy is it, how much effort does it take to listen to you and understand you? If it takes a lot of effort and the test scorer has to rewind and listen 5 times to just understand what you're saying, this means you're going to get a 1. Choppy, fragmented speech, frequent pauses and hesitations. Pauses, dead air is your worst enemy. Okay, just saying nothing. Along that line, when you have the prompt, again, the prompts are extremely easy to see. You know it's time to speak. It's quite obvious. Please speak. One common mistake is to wait 5 seconds, 8 seconds, even 10 seconds before you begin speaking. Well, that's just sort of suicide, because if you wait 10 seconds and you only have 60 seconds, you've just basically eliminated 15% of your score. Okay, down at level 1. Limited vocabulary and grammar, simple sentences, no compound or complex sentences, no, for example, descriptive phrases like gerunds or infinitives or relative clauses. None of that more complex sentence structure is there. Relies heavily on formulaic expressions, memorized expressions, things that are clearly just memorized speaking. That's where you're looking at level 2, level 1. Okay, for a 2 score, okay, you're on the task, but you're not developing it. What that means is you're not, when you're making notes, you should actually be definitely writing down reasons, but also writing down the examples. That's what they do. And when they're speaking in all these integrated tasks, they give a reason and a little extra information. Perhaps an example, perhaps just another connected idea, but they give detail. When you report it back, when you're speaking, you need to do that. That's what they're talking about when they say limited in development. You're not reporting the details. Okay, you may be repeating points, and sometimes, or the connection between ideas may be unclear. Again, I heavily stress using connectives to show where you are. His first reason is, he says that because. His second reason is, as an example, he says blah, blah, blah. Okay, now I'm developing it and I'm connecting it. Okay, delivery, level score 2. Basically intelligible speech. Maybe a little choppy. Choppy in speaking is when you tend to perhaps speak 2 or 3 words at a time. That was an example of choppiness. Okay, or unclear pronunciation. Meaning may be unclear. Okay, a quick word of advice for those of you who are afraid you may have an accent problem, or perhaps your speech is sometimes choppy when you're under stress. I advise you to slow down just a little bit. You do not get awarded for talking like this. It doesn't matter if you can speak really fast at a really fast pace. This is not going to really help you on the test if you can speak like this. Just slow down. Of course, you need to speak at a normal pace, but normal pace in English, there's a wide variety of normal pace. You can speak quite slowly, but at a consistent pace, and that is much better than trying to run forward and forgetting what you're saying and then going really fast and then a pause, because that actually hurts my head. So it's all about being fluid. That's why they call it fluency. For heaven's sakes, yes. Okay, level 2, limited range and control to express ideas. Only basic sentences are spoken fluently. That means when it's time to use a subordinate clause, use expressions like however. On the other hand, the woman says that she would disagree with the idea. Okay, I have complicated things. I have subordinators. I have a relative clause in there. Okay, I'm making long sentences. And they're consistently messed up. Now, you make long sentences, but sometimes they're right and sometimes they're not. You could bump up to level 3 because here we see student relies on simple sentences. Okay, maybe relies on listing to give examples consistently instead of using different types of constructions. Sometimes it's unconnected ideas are unclear. Okay. Improving to level 3. Okay, as far as content, again, the limited information. Details. Lacks some specific details and elaboration. Okay. Are you getting the clue here that adding details when you're explaining reasons, this is how you get a good score? Hopefully you keep seeing that. Mostly coherent and organized, the key. Sometimes ideas may not be entirely clear when you're jumping to the next reason, perhaps. Okay. In the delivery, fluidity of expression. Okay, so you know how to do things when, for example, you know how to use pauses when you say when, for example. That's called fluidity. Okay, your pauses and your intonation actually make sense when taken into account what you're saying in your sentence structure. Okay, there may be some problems with pronunciation or intonation. Okay, so for example, if you have an issue with R's and L's or TH or something like that, some sort of a consistent repeated problem, this may hold you back a little, all right, but you can still definitely get a 3 score. Basically, you get a score of 3. Overall understanding is not compromised. I know what you're saying, okay, but your English is not, it could be better. I would correct you. However, I can understand everything you're saying. That's what we're talking about at level 3. All right, and then going to the actual language use, fairly good. Maybe some imprecise vocabulary or grammar. You make occasional errors, perhaps wrong preposition, perhaps you forget an article, things like that. Again, same idea. Okay, you use the wrong word. I would never use that word there, but I can understand what you're saying. You're not using correct collocations, or you're using the wrong preposition with the verb. Things like that don't really affect understanding, but they're not right either. Okay, and then finally, where you want to be. Level 4. Well, first of all, answers the question. Yay! Includes 2 or 3 points of support, especially in the independent tasks 1 and 2. Yes, you can't get a score of 4 unless you give your opinion about your favorite type of music, and you give 2 points. I really dig reggae music. I love it because it's so easy to dance to. It has a very simple beat, and it's easy to move my feet when I hear that sound. Also, I really love reggae music because the topics in the lyrics are peace and love for one another on earth. It's a very groovy style of music, and I'm sure I will love reggae music until I'm very old. Yay! Look at that. I gave 2 or 3 points. I used different types of sentences. I said my second idea, so I made a clear transition, organized well enough. I give myself a 4. Yay, reggae music. Okay. Very good. Speech is fluent and sustained, no hesitations or pauses. Again, hesitations and pauses are your enemy. Okay. Stress, intonation, rhythm, and blending. The ability to use reduced speech and to blend words together very seamlessly. Okay, you can still get a 4 even though you have small problems with pronunciation or you have an accent, for example. Don't worry about it. It doesn't matter. You can still get a perfect score. All right, language uses a variety of grammatical structures, including all those things I talked about. And okay, I mentioned that it would be good to use more complex structures. Yes, but in English you should use a variety. Actually, there's a reason they say variety. So simple sentences mixed with compound sentences, complex sentences, compound, complex, different adjective constructions, gerunds, relative clauses, things like that. Different, obviously, if it's possible, possibly different verb tenses. Be wary of verb tenses, though. You have to be in the right verb tense. They're more... Oddly, IELTS test is much more concerned with verb tense. For some reason, Toefl, you're just doing reported speech, so it's pretty simple past tense speech, most of it. Okay. In question 2, of course, they're asking you a hypothetical question. Which would you prefer? So, yeah, you may be using modals or future tense in question 2. For example, most of it's really past tense reported things. Okay, as in IELTS, as in all these tests, they love natural expressions and collocations. All right, how native speakers actually say it. Okay, and language is automatic. Believe me, when I'm scoring a speaking test, it is very obvious when the speaker is thinking in English and when they are translating in English. It's quite obvious. You can hear the pause. You can see them. You can mentally see them roll their eyes back in their head and think about, what is that word? If you run into this problem, there is a word you want to use, but you have a mental block. It happens to all of us. Very natural. Just explain it in simpler words instead of pausing. All right? You can't think of the word like right away. Don't sit there and waste 10 seconds going, reticulated python. Okay. That's just silly. Just say a special kind of Python or a specific kind of Python. Okay.
But how would you introduce that simple words? For example, if you want to say like a complicated word, but you can't recall that word at that moment, so how would you say?
Well, yeah, I was trying to think of the word reticulated. All right, and instead I said a specific type Python. Maybe it's not even exactly right, but believe me, having you might have noticed, having slight problems with vocabulary or grammar, or even pronunciation, you can still get a perfect score. You know what you're not going to get a perfect score doing is pausing. It's just going to absolutely kill you. It makes it impossible. So even if in other words, you're better off, the lesser of two evils, if you will, you're better being a little less clear and using less specific vocabulary. In general, that's what we're talking about. You know, more complex vocabulary is generally more specific overall. So you're better off being slightly less clear, but much more cohesive, organized, fluent, because that's 2/3 of the test. Whereas vocabulary and grammar together only form 1/3 of the test. So it's just logical. Okay, thanks for the question, though. Anybody else? Any questions? Wow, I got through that fast. Me. Are you singing? Me.
No, okay. My question is, what kind of grammar structure? I don't know. Variety of grammar structure. Would you like to give an example of variety of grammar structures, please?
Sure. Okay, well, a simple sentence, of course, is just subject, verb, object. That's what they mean when they say a simple sentence. And that is in the rubric several times, in the low score, in the 1 and 2, only uses simple sentence. The man ate a pizza. The man was hungry. He ate all the pizza. The pizza was delicious. All right, if you're speaking like that, there's no way on earth you get above a 2. Okay, those are simple sentences. The man had pizza and he drank a Coke. There you go. That's a compound sentence. I have a connective, a conjunction, another subject, the man, and then he drank a Coke. I'm combining 2 phrases. Basically, what I'm talking about is combining 2 phrases.
Okay, I get it.
Right. He enjoyed the Coke, however, he really loved the pizza. Ta-da! Complex sentence. I'm using a subordinator. I have a subordinate clause, an independent and a dependent clause joined together into a bigger sentence. That's it. It's not like it's that complicated, but my first example where I just used simple sentences, it sounded kind of stupid, right? I sounded...
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, okay, that's it. Maybe throw in a couple relative clauses. He was a man who really enjoyed his pizza. He was a man who, using as a relative pronoun, who really enjoyed his pizza. Wow, there you go. Wonderful. There's a relative clause. Okay. So if I mixed those all up and spoke for 45 seconds, 4. Okay. So in reality, Faisal,
Yeah.
you're in this test. The last thing you want to think about is grammar. In fact, please don't think about grammar. Think of it a different way. Now, this is just advice. Think of it this way. Think about staying organized and using expressions like first of all, or the man's first point is, because actually when you use these signal words or signals phrases, these transitionals, adverbs, actually, or when you're giving your opinion in questions 1 or 2, actually, I think that I might want to blah, blah, blah. By using these, you're going to be using subordinators, and you're naturally going to be using complex sentences. By adding 2 pieces of information, you're going to be using compound sentences. So by focusing more on staying organized and using transitional words and phrases to stay organized, it naturally means you're going to be using more complex sentence structures. You have to, in order to successfully use those organizational phrases. Okay?
Okay, thanks.
So don't be thinking grammar. You got enough to think about, trust me. You got to be thinking content. Again, content is very important, but just stay focused on being organized. Any other questions? No. Okay. Okay, some basic speaking tips I would like to give you. Questions that other people have asked me. All right, it takes, first of all, number 1, it takes a lot of practice. And one thing you have to practice is how to, first of all, how to take notes. You have to be very organized with your notes. When you speak, you're going to be following your notes. So it's good to practice this. You can practice this by going to TED Talks and writing notes and then summarizing it to another person. You can practice this by watching news with your mom. Okay, Mom, go in the kitchen for 5 minutes, and I'm going to tell you what the reporter said about the current kidnapping problem in Nigeria. Okay, what's the new news? Very simple, but do it. Actually make notes while you're watching the news. I don't care. Practice doing that, and practice for the first 2 questions. Not instantly, you have preparation time, but you do need to come up with a couple reasons to support your ideas fairly quickly. So also maybe practice brainstorming. A question many people ask: is it okay to lie? Yes, it is. No one's checking. They're not going to send the National Security Agency to your house to check to see if when you talked about your favorite family member, do you really have an Aunt Cecile? We're going to check, all right? The NSA is going to send a probe. They're going to tap your phone. They're going to be watching your house via satellite. No, of course not. That's just silly. It's okay to lie, but some of us lie better than others. Isn't that the truth? Frankly, some students who try to lie as they're doing this, they stink. All right? So know yourself. Can you lie? Some people, on the other hand, are extremely good at it. When it comes to questions 1 or 2, here's this may sound silly, but a very common mistake. Students will try to say what they really think. Not really the point. For example, would you prefer to work in a group or work by yourself? You've only got limited preparation time, limited time to speak. What you really think doesn't really matter. That's not the test. Which can you speak about more at length, with more detail, more relaxed in yourself? Which would be easier to talk about? Which do you first have ideas about as you brainstorm? That's what you should say. That's your answer. Okay? Not what you necessarily think is right. Right and wrong doesn't exist in this test. Okay? It doesn't make any difference. It's all about what is easiest, what can you most fluently speak about. And also, what do you brainstorm first? here's a huge piece of advice, which, as we practice for the next 3 hours, we're going to run into, I guarantee we'll run into this over and over again. Look, you have a very limited time. The biggest mistake is test takers will elaborate on the introduction. Okay, they'll talk about the situation for 20 seconds, 25 seconds, and not get to the point. Or especially in that question 5, where you have to summarize, give the points, then give your opinion, then support your opinion. That's 5 things you have to do in 60 seconds. If your introduction takes 20 seconds, now you've got to do 4 things, and you're never going to get to supporting your reason. So keep the introduction part brief. You should do it. Definitely. You definitely need to introduce what is the problem, or the reading passage discusses the migratory habits of mourning doves. That's it. That's all I'm saying about the reading. The professor disagrees with many points in the reading passage. First of all, the professor thinks that mourning doves are retarded. I don't know, whatever. He says this because of an experiment that he did when he was 8 years old. Okay. Secondly, the professor disagrees with the passage about how long it takes to migrate. The professor did an experiment in which he found that by hooking sensors up to mourning doves, that they would actually take 3 months to fly to Guam. I don't know. I'm making stuff up. My point is, my introduction is very, very fast. The points and supporting information are what get you the top score. Okay. All right, independent speaking, again, you should go for 2 points is my advice. You can have 3 supporting points or supporting reasons, but it is much better to have 2 more developed, maybe with an example, a specific example from your own experience, rather than have 4 different points. It's better to develop a point than to just, it's not a good idea to list supporting points or supporting reasons. Ooh, that's horrible, actually. You must develop them, your ideas. Okay, here's another very simple, stupid thing. As I'm talking to you, I wave my hands around. I basically don't consider the fact that I'm sitting here in front of, thousands of people on YouTube. Who knows how many people viewing here at Verbling. I'm just talking like it's a conversation. Actually, when you're taking the test, you should do the same thing. If you wave your hands around when you speak, by all means, even if you're at a testing center and there's people to your left and right, do what you do. Do that voodoo that you do so well. Do whatever you do when you normally have a conversation, whatever makes you comfortable. If you're comfortable sitting up and speaking and being very expressive with your face, then go ahead and do that. If you're, if you're comfortable slouching in your chair down here and twiddling your pencil in your fingers when you speak, I don't care. Do it. It's a recording. They're not recording you on video. It's an audio recording. So make yourself comfortable, by all means. Another tip: conclusions. Conclusions are good. If you see you have 5 to 8 seconds left, you know how much time you have left in the speaking time, by the way. You can see that. So you have 5 or 8 seconds left. All right, you want to fill up the time, and that's why I prefer to work in a group rather than by myself. Okay, quick 5-second sentence in conclusion. It can only help you. It cannot hurt you. It is not absolutely necessary, however. But again, details are better than conclusions. But you know, you have that 5 seconds left. Throw it in. Yeah, it will help you a little bit. And again, if you get cut off, it doesn't even matter. If you get cut off every question, you can still get a perfect score. So don't really worry about it. Again, the key is organization. You're thinking about every one of your answers as if it was a mini essay and you were writing it. An introduction, a body, a conclusion. A conclusion's not so necessary. If you have the time, go ahead. And keep it simple. Don't worry about impressing them, all right? Do not try to speak like a college professor. That's going to get you in trouble. You can speak quite simple and direct and get a perfect score. They really are expecting a very specifically structured answer. They're not looking for you to wow them, to make them laugh, to impress them in any way. They just want to hear very well-organized, clear, direct language. Okay. Oh yeah, one more point. Self-corrections. Self-corrections you can get away with, but you know, repetition is such your enemy that the idea is if you make a mistake, you should just press on. Don't worry too much about correcting a mistake. You know you just made a mistake. Forget about it and continue speaking. Don't stop yourself, because that's going to just totally throw off your rhythm. So don't worry about it. Okay. All right. In our next class, we are going to just go directly into practicing questions 1 and 2. So I have worn myself out giving as much information as I can in this class. So I'm just going to rest for the next 3 hours and make you guys work. So I hope that you can join me for the next classes. I have some new material that I did not have previously. Other times I've done Toefl classes. So I'm going to sneak up on you with brand new material, and we're going to practice, practice, practice. Next class coming up in just 1 minute or so, questions 1 and 2, and we're going to jump right into it. Okay? Thank you for joining me. See you in just a minute. Grab your pencil, paper, your water. I'll grab mine, and I'll see you guys in a minute, hopefully.
Goodbye. Thank you.
Bye.
See you
Thank you.
soon.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye for now.
Goodbye.
See you soon, I hope.